Today we have Yvonne with us. She's an alumni of the BVZ Launch program that we had in 2025. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yvonne, tell us something about what your startup is in 60 seconds. What do you do?
Well, my startup is called Med Melanin. It's designed to improve communications, clinics' communication crisis, and help women be better advocates as they navigate the healthcare system.
Nice.
So it's a digital preventative healthcare platform.
Okay, so when you say digital, what do you mean by digital? What elements of that is there? How do you, because this is a community connect as well with women.
It is.
So how does the digital angle and the community angle come together?
Yeah, so let's say we're going old school for a second, right? You go to a clinic, maybe you've previously felt dismissed or you felt like you weren't heard, you're trying to navigate what that system would look like. So you would go through the WhatsApp aunties and you would try to get some support through different articles that they shared, or you would start Googling and seeing what support you could go to. Maybe there's one nurse that you just know, oh, this one nurse is on. At the time I'm there, I'm really going to get this support. So I'm going to make sure I'm there on time and try to bug her as much as I can for the only 8 minutes I have with her before the doctor comes in. And then that's how you try to get that support. And then the doctor is trying to support you, but they can't read your mind. They have 100 patients they're seeing that day. They're trying to get as much information as possible and context switching. And they're trying to do that within an allowed time frame. So that is a traditional pathway. Putting that online just provides it to be more accessible. It enables the physicians to not do guesswork, to be able to support you as quick as possible and be able to do that with adequate and smarter triage. And then for patients, they can come prepared. They can come with maybe part of their questions answered, but advocating for themselves and knowing, hey, I can get the support I need because I can actually accurately describe my symptoms. And so it's a different way on how we do it. I think back in the day, we would have called it something else, but now it's just it's an online version of it.
So tell us more about the journey where you actually landed on this idea and how that came about. Was it a problem? Was it a challenge that you yourself faced, right? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I was second year master's Waterloo, and I was saying I'm going to let the world guide me into what problem I'm going to solve, what solution or business I'm going to work through. And at the time, one of my close family friends had called me and told me how she had an experience where she had gone to the doctor 6 times, she'd been misdiagnosed 3 times. And the time in which she called me, it was her coming and crying on the phone saying how they accused her of wanting drugs. And she had to call her sister, who was a doctor, and that's how she was able to get that support. Because once the doctor knew, hey, like, this is someone that has a healthcare background, and she also had a healthcare background studying pharmacology, that they were actually able to navigate that support, that system. And it made me think, like, well, is this a one-off case, or how deep does this really go? So I spent a significant portion of that year just focusing on the problem. There was this competition called Problem Lab. I think that's what focused me to understand, okay, as much as I care about the problem, then the solution can pivot. Because originally I thought, hey, I was just going to connect patients to physicians that look like them and understood them, and that's how we were going to solve the problem. And the Canadian healthcare space is very different. It's like you're trying to basically get second opinions, which technically a lot of people do now, and kind of misusing primary care resources, unfortunately. So it was about a better way for us to maximize its use in a way that was more sustainable. And that actually aligned with both the Canadian ecosystem and beyond.
How has the journey been so far? Like, have there been challenges, a lot of wins?
Up and down. I won't lie. I feel like I've had to pivot a few times, like even that idea of trying to do like traditional telemedicine. And it was around the time that telemedicine was booming, right before, slight decline. It was like, okay, this is when we're really going to dive into it. And then, having to make that adjustment. I think originally it was only me pushing this. So I was doing this silently, like, the stealth mode type of speak. And it's only when I publicly started saying, this is what I'm working on, if anyone's interested, I got a lot of people that just say, hey, I really believe in this problem. I want to be part of the solution and help you make it a reality. And that's when I was like, oh, I might have something here.
Nice. You are a resident of Brampton.
I am.
What I know of.
Yeah.
I think when I started off my whole startup pivot as well, I met you at Web Summit. Collision, sorry.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, oh, that's amazing because you're doing something for the community and for a certain community within Brampton.
Absolutely.
And you focus towards that.
Yeah.
So how has that gone in terms of being part of, say, Brampton Ventures Zone
Yes.
or any of the other ecosystem partner players? Like, how has that helped in your favor in terms of helping you forward?
So for me, if I specifically focus on Brampton Ventures Zone, one of the things I absolutely loved was the focus on healthcare.
Okay.
Because I didn't have to do guesswork. I didn't have to, one, overly explain the problem. The problem was understood. But more importantly, I was surrounded by a community of people that, because they were in the space, and I would say, oh, I'm trying to figure out how I can set up HIPAA compliance, and HIPAA is different than PHIPAA, and how do I do this from a compliance standpoint, or I'm trying to connect with clinics and I don't know how the process to go through it. There's other people that's in the program with me, and because they're in healthcare, it was just a few text messages, something that had been taking me months. And I was like, I have no idea how to do this. I'm trying to close this pilot partner. I really need support because I need to secure my regulatory compliance and everything. And I texted 2 people in the program. They're like, great, we're in the city. Go here, go here, go here. And it was done. And I was like, well, that was nice.
So a lot of support in terms of not just mentorship, but also just connecting.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah? Absolutely. Yeah.
What about your cohort? I remember your cohort because that was my first cohort at the BVZ as well. You're such a close-knit cohort. So has that helped in terms of not just the BVZ team, but the cohort that you worked with? Did that help you look beyond or get more networking opportunities?
It did. We still meet up. We have one scheduled in a few weeks from now. And we're like, we need to catch up. But no, they were great. I think for me, it was something I didn't know what to expect. You know, I've been into different programs and you kind of come with different people working on different spaces, but it was just this continued desire of, I want to see you win. And that for me was the biggest difference, and it still is the biggest difference. And so now when we're like, okay, we want to fundraise, or, you know, what does that process look like? You can talk to people that, oh, either I know someone that's done it, or I'm currently doing it right now, or this is the things that I've learned and avoided. And here's a message. I'll make a quick introduction. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Also talk when you mentioned the funding right now, and I know you're starting the journey.
Yeah.
So how is that going? What are you looking for? Because again, healthcare is very difficult to get funding in.
It is.
So how are you going through that process, and how is the ecosystem helping again?
Yeah. As someone that's focused so much in partnerships for a big part of my career, I am being very strategic, right? So I'm not going through everywhere in the waters. I'm going where you've had a pathway where you've either focused on women founders, you've focused on social impact founders, because a big part of, like you said, is we're focusing on community. We're starting with women of color, and so trying to be able to focus and improve their care. Or you've had some type of space in digital health or in healthcare. Because one thing I recognize from being this early stage founder is I want the support that's not just money, but that can open certain doors.
Nice.
Because the reason why we were able to work with the clinics or connect with the clinics we had is because there was already those relationships. And so having folks that have that understanding can make the big difference. So I'm trying to be very strategic. Maybe it's taking me a little bit longer, but I'm giving myself a few weeks to kind of put all my ducks in a row. So maybe in April.
That's a good strategy. Being strategic is good.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned clinics, and are you already part of clinics within the city of Brampton?
Not in the city of Brampton yet. Okay. There's one that's in my head, and I'm gonna, end of this year, mark my words, I'm really hoping I get them. But we were able to secure a paid partnership with a clinic in Toronto.
Okay.
And so we'll be supporting over 2,000 patients there.
Nice.
And that one's been a really good eye-opener, just because their focus is so much on women in particular, and we're able to kind of navigate it and create advocacy-specific disorder programs for them. But I'm very much hoping to get a CHC in Brampton, so fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
As a woman building in tech and building in such a niche area, what would be your advice to other women building in tech right now?
I don't know if this is as positive.
No, that's fine, because I mean, as whether you're male or female, each one has its challenges.
Yeah.
When you're building in health tech and you're a female and you're fighting for a certain community within that just adds to your challenges, multiplies by
it does,
100, right?
It does.
So what kind of advice would you give a woman pursuing the same angle, or just a woman pursuing in tech?
This is not a sprint.
Okay.
And I think the minute that you recognize it's not a sprint, it's important, if we're being realistic, to put certain things in place so that you can make it through the marathon. so that you can really have a sustainable avenue with it. By the time you start doing small calculations, if you're doing something that's in health tech, you really want to expand it. It's really good to have credibility, which means you need to be part of some type of research. And that's well over a year in practice. If your audience or your segment or your customer is insurance, this is 2 to 4 year wait process. If it's clinics, 6 to 12, maybe 3 to 6 months, depending how far along you are in that process. And if it's government support, you need to understand your sales cycle really well. But part of understanding that sales cycle and part of understanding, hey, these are the steps that can make this process faster, but it's still going to take time. And in that time, you still need to eat, you still need to live, you need to not burn out. And so having those things in place enable you to be able to actually make it done. And I think as a woman, it depends on what your other goals are in life, truthfully, and where you are in that process. And if there's other things that you are looking towards and other things you're if you're looking for a family or you're trying to balance that, then it's a matter of having the support around you that knows, okay, this is what we're doing for this time period, and this is why I'm doing it, and this is why it's important. And having that support around you, I think, is even more important, because you're going to get a lot of pressure, especially if you're cultured. I don't want to say cultured. If you're from you're from a cultural background, there's typical a lot of pressure. You'd have to have that type of support or understanding.
Yeah, no, I think that's so important, the support in systems, whether it's your family, whether it is co-workers, whether it is another startup founder that you connect with, right? It's really, really important.
Absolutely.
As a woman building in health tech in particular, and because I remember one conversation where you said women and research around medical stuff, right? Yeah. It's so limited. Yeah. You see AI now as well. It doesn't have that, because the content that it's been fed is more male-oriented.
Absolutely.
So what were the challenges that you faced when you're developing your health tech platform from that? Yeah, from that perspective.
I think because I spent such a long time in the research phase and the problem phase, I understood the depth of research that was lacking.
Okay.
I knew that there was not enough research to have diverse communities, and let alone women. We can joke about it now, which isn't really funny, but this research studies that's in the 90s, which is 30 years ago now, and it's talking about being pregnant. Yeah. But the only people that's inside that study is males, which genetically is impossible. Yep. So it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, we don't have enough of this data. And for us, a big part of what we want to do is because we recognize that AI has the ability to exponentially grow and fix a lot of problems that we have within healthcare. But when it has the right data and right relevant data, not just surplus, but quality. Yeah. And as a result, it was important for us to build our own data set that we can utilize, which we're doing.
Okay.
And then utilizing that to then create our own model versus using models that never considered us in the first place.
So again, the data is very relevant to the audience that you're creating.
Absolutely.
Which is amazing.
Absolutely.
So being a founder and going through everything that you've said, the difficulties, the challenges, balancing life.
Yeah.
As a founder who's talking to maybe a very early stage founder, what advice would you give in terms of how to move forward?
Join an incubator early.
Okay.
And be a sponge. And just suck up all the knowledge that you can.
I love the word sponge.
Yeah, it's just so necessary. And I think that constant desire to learn and learn from other people and being humble in that learning from other people. Amazing. I'm reading this book it's on ego, and I'm like, I think more founders should read this book. It's just because it forces you to learn a different style of leadership.
Yeah.
And for early founders, there's all these lists of podcasts and resources that I remember learning, and it changed my perspective to say, this is actually possible. Because if you don't see as many founders in this space actually doing it, then you're like, maybe this is just a dream for the magazines and the TV shows. But if you see it because you are learning and you're exposing yourself to things beyond what's right in front of you, then you can go a lot further.
I love that. Love that idea and the mindset around that. That's amazing. Where do you see yourself now? Because I know you've started the funding process. Yeah. Where do you see yourself, say, in the next 5 years? I know a very cliche question, but
5 years. I don't know if that's that cliche. I mean, for us right now, we've created a hypertension advocacy program.
Okay.
So for me, that's something that I'm super proud of because it's the leading cause, the number one killer of people, which is cardiovascular disease. If someone asked me in 3 years from now, what's the next program? It's 100% fibroids. I mean, like, I can go into talk about it all day if anyone asks me, but I'm so excited to build that program. And I think those pathways enables us to go beyond just the market and the region that we're in. And so that's something that I'm excited about.
Sounds good. Yeah. Any last minute words or one word to describe BVZ in terms of your experience?
In terms of my experience, exceptional. But beyond the word exceptional, I would say real world support.
Okay.
Right? If I had to put that into like a sentence for me, I think what I got from BVZ outside of the community and outside of my cohort was the support from me as the founder, because the business is only as good as the founder in the early stages. And so really getting the support for the person behind the work, that was exceptional. Thank you so much.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And taking your time.
Appreciate it.